Hi, it's Alenka Tercic from dreamlifecreation.com. And today I will have a cup of coffee with Stacey. Hi, Stacey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you?
Waving back to the other side of the world.
I know. Isn't technology amazing?
It is, yes. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm Stacey Herrera, and I'm a life coach that focuses on connection. I really, really believe that happy endings happen in real life and not just on television. And I really want to help people to really get connected with themselves and with everyone around them and everything around them so that they can lead a happy and healthy life. I think that connection is the foundation for everything.
So, how do you define connection versus relationship? Because everyone we meet, we have some sort of relationship to.
hmm I think they are very similar, and the lines are probably very thin between the two. But I think relationships is basically how we relate to something and not necessarily how we connect to something. You could relate to someone going through something, but sometimes you actually feel connected and drawn to someone or something because there's something deeper than that. And I think that relationships are kind of really general. And I mean, you have relationships with the checker at the supermarket, but you don't necessarily feel connected to that person. But like the people closest to you, you feel connected to them, you feel drawn to them, you feel an absence when they're not there. And I think connection is just a deeper and more profound and pronounced connection with between you and your space and the universe and everything.
Yeah, I think that you're right, but how come that we then have so many relationship coaches and so little connection coaches?
I struggled in the beginning when I first started coaching. I was very reluctant to kind of niche myself into anything. I really, freedom is an important feeling for me. So in my mind, I told myself, I don't want to box myself in. I want to do everything. And what kept coming up for me, though, is every person that I coached, no matter what they presented with initially, it always came back to relationships. And I thought, I'm not interested in coaching people about relationships, but I am interested in helping people understand how they're connecting or disconnecting in their own lives. I mean, and that does include relationships, but that also includes, how you perceive yourself and how you go about your day and, the things you choose to focus on, because all of those things play into connection and relationships. So they kind of partner together. But I think when you look at your connection to certain things, like joy, for example, how you connect to joy makes a huge difference in how you experience life. And some people, of course, are resistant to connecting to joy.
Yeah, and it's true. Whenever I have these chats, we always come around to loving yourself and taking care of yourself and relationship to yourself. And it is really important. We are always so worried about others and how we are perceived by others and how others see us,
Yes.
that we forget that it's us that are the first ones.
That's absolutely true. And I think that that's especially true for women because we are kind of conditioned to put everyone else and everything before yourself. And so women, I think, struggle the most. And I've coached more men actually than women, believe it or not. And men do struggle, but their struggle is different. Like men don't seem to have as a hard of a time putting themselves first. Women struggle a lot with that.
Yeah, but probably men are doing it differently, not in a, how do I say it, not in a so deep, caring way, but
Mhm.
they're
Mhm.
more, more of a need. for them, and they just take it.
Yes.
Or am I wrong?
No, nope, you're absolutely right. I think that men naturally show up to situations and especially their relationships and their families as protectors and not necessarily caregivers. But women, we are naturally nurturing, and our bodies are hormonally designed, biologically designed to feel everything and to connect. And so that's why we experience everything so very different. And for men, they aren't wired that way. So, that whole men are from Mars, women are from Venus thing is very true. Women, our biology dictates how we show up in the world. And I think that that's sometimes one of the things that we miss the most. And sometimes that causes a huge disconnect in relationships, though, because as women, and I know it's been true for me, is we want men to be like us. We want them to feel like we feel. We want them to care about the things we care about. And we just kind of forget that on a very primitive level, some of those things are not necessarily choices.
Right. So I'm really intrigued about your work with men because I hang out with a lot of women, and we talk about nurturing us.
Mm-hmm.
How do you help men?
Well, men actually, they it's not that they present with different issues. They present with the same stuff, because what I found is men, and this is probably surprising to some women because we'd love to believe that they are just cold and callous and they don't feel anything, but that is not true. Men feel very deeply. They just aren't triggered by the same things that we're triggered by. So men worry about their relationships. Men want to be in love, believe it or not. They want a partner. They want someone to love and care about them. They want to be seen. They want to be heard, which are all things that women want too. They just go about it in a different way. So like one of the things that trips women up and gets in the way of a lot of relationships, especially in the beginning, is like the whole sex thing. For women, we don't want to have sex unless we are feeling very comfortable, and we want to make sure that the man is feeling something emotionally for us. Whereas men, they sometimes have a hard time feeling something emotional before they have sex, because that for them is a very, that's a connection for them. And even though they are able to have sex without feeling deeply, but when they really like someone, they feel just as deeply during sex as we do. And I think that sometimes that's where we kind of miss each other. And in a lot of relationships, like, women don't want to have sex if things are going bad, and that's really when you should have sex, like, because because I think women want to hold on. They want to not do it because they are afraid that they're going to forgive him. They know they will if they have sex. but like, it's very important. It's very important because that really is a way that we connect to one another. And there's a lot of information that's exchanged biologically during the act that it goes over our head because it's not something that we consciously think about.
Exactly. This makes me think of all the, let's say, issues that we are so passionate about, like domestic violence or single moms, or it just oftentimes so focused on women that that men are experiencing the same things.
Yes, and men, even domestic violence, there are a lot of men that suffer in domestic violence situation, and because men are perceived as the stronger, which is actually true, men are physically stronger than women. And size doesn't matter. Men are physically stronger because that's how their bodies are designed. But there are men that are victims of domestic violence too, and sometimes they just don't speak out because society doesn't really support a man being perceived as weak. But being a victim is not a weakness. And speaking out about something that's harming you is not weak, but society does not give space for men to show up and really express themselves, even in terms of emotions. Like, for women, we say we want a man that is going to be there for us, and we want him to feel what we feel. But if your man is crying all the time, that's going to get on your nerves. You're going to think he is not a man because he's always crying or whatever. Like, we really don't offer them the room to show up and actually express themselves, even though we say that that's what we want. Men don't feel safe doing it because society hasn't really allowed them the privilege of doing that.
Exactly. I'm so happy that
fascinating and sad.
yes, and I'm so happy that we are talking about the other side. Not only just women and women stuff and our souls and searching for the meaning and everything, which is okay and very good. But yeah, I often feel that men are somehow neglected in this way.
Yes,
Because
they are.
they don't look for help. They are not that much open, or maybe they don't talk about it, or so I'm really happy that this came out. So how can you help them?
Well, I think I help when I do have a male client. Like, I tell them it's okay. Like, it's okay for you to feel, and it's okay for you to be expressive. And as I would tell anyone, male or female, of course you have to be selective about who you are expressive to, because you have to also trust what you know about the other person. You don't have to trust the other person. You have to trust what you know about them. So, if you know the other person has a short temper or they're really quick to judge, then obviously that's not a safe space for you to express yourself. But we all need someone, or even if you don't feel comfortable sharing it with someone else, you just got to get it out of you. So sometimes that looks like writing it down, on a journal or on a piece of paper that you destroy. Sometimes it means talking it out loud. Like, I do that a lot. I really talk a lot out loud, things that I'm feeling, even if it's directed at a person who isn't there. Like, I'll talk it out in the shower, like, I'll express what it is that I'm thinking or what I want to say, even if I never ever deliver the speech to someone else. But, sometimes just getting it outside and hearing it, instead of thinking it, really opens up the space for you to shift your perspective or for you to approach the situation in an appropriate way.
Wow, this is, I often talk to myself, but more like brainstorming or going through ideas or just playing out some dialogues, but not really consciously using talk for, letting things out.
It's very helpful. I do it all the time. And sometimes I think if someone walks in, they're going to think I am Looney Tunes. But I do it all the time. I do it all the time. Sometimes, like, especially if I get in bed and I'm trying to go to sleep and something is bothering me, like, I don't want to go to sleep with that on my head. So, I'll talk it out, and sometimes I have to get out of the bed so that I'm not associating rest with that situation that's, bogging through my mind. And sometimes once I just express it, out loud, and sometimes just because I'm like, other people are sleeping, sometimes I'm whispering it, but just getting it out. And then that way it gives my head a clear space so that when I do go to sleep, sometimes the solution appears. Yeah. And not but if you go to sleep with it all kind of bogged down and trapped, then you're restless, you can't sleep well, and sometimes you feel like there is no solution. But sometimes just getting it out and kind of, clearing the space before you go to sleep, which is so important, the solution appears, because some of my best ideas and some of my, greatest aha moments come in the middle of the night when I've been sleeping. I mean, I wrote a whole program once that I woke up and I'm like, oh my God, and it just kind of was a download. But that only really happens when you kind of clear the space before you go to bed. So whatever you're focusing on, really, if you're focused on a problem before you go to bed, then you're going to have a nightmare. But if you're focused on a solution, then it can be kind of a download. It's amazing.
It is, and I think that this idea is also very good for men as well, because women often, journal or write it down or just put it on paper, And
Hmm.
I would think that men would prefer talking to be honest.
A lot of them do prefer talking, and unfortunately for them, like for women, even if we can't share what we're feeling or what we're thinking with our significant other, like our partner, we at least have other women that we're able to share our emotions, even when stuff is ridiculous. Because women will, that we don't really have that whole, oh my God thing. With our close friends, we will unload and we'll tell whatever it is. But men really don't have that kind of space with a lot of their friends, even people that, even guys that they consider their very close friends, sometimes they're still very reluctant to share how they actually feel about something. They're not, because they're always worried about being perceived as weak. So they really don't have as many resources as we do, which is really sad. It makes me really sad. So the surprisingly, the guys that I've coached, which I didn't know I would be more drawn to guys, but for some reason I am. And they are able to actually share, and the fact that they're actually seeking to share and evolve in that way, I think is huge.
It is, and I don't want to sound here like you're only working with men, but it's one part of your work.
Yes. Yes,
Uh,
I do work with women too. Women actually are more open to change. Men are a little bit more reserved about asking for help because, again, sometimes they feel like, what are people going to think about me? Even one of my friends, I hadn't talked to him in a good while, and he was actually my former employer many years ago, and I hadn't talked to him in a while, and he said, I was going to call you not too long ago. And he was like, I was kind of going through something. And he was like, not with business, but, just going through stuff with life. And I was thinking, I was going to call and talk to you about it. But then I changed my mind because I thought, I don't talk to people. And I said, everybody needs somebody to talk to. And he just got quiet. He still didn't share. He still didn't share because there's still a part of him that feels like it's not okay.
so, do you think that women are also more open in the social media sphere uh, versus men? We
Um,
are always sharing and ranting and throwing all out.
I hadn't thought about it before. I guess in my experience, I think men and women are both equal in terms of sharing, but I think women might share different things. Like women are willing to share things about relationships because for us, our relationship is one of the most important things for us. So we often share things that are relationship related, which sometimes is very passive aggressive, which that's a whole nother thing about people in social media. They're very passive aggressive on social media. I think men do a lot of sharing about life events, though. They will share things about something good that happened in their day. They'll share something about maybe some random thing, like maybe they got cut off in a car. So I see guys sharing those kinds of things. So I think they're very open to sharing the experiences that they have, but not necessarily things that are really intimate. I think women are more open to sharing intimate things that are close to their heart on social media, and I don't think men do that as much, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah, I think that I agree with that. So, uh, people can reach to you through your website, right? StaceyHerrera.com. I will put
That's
that
correct.
in my on my webpage along the video with the recording and everything, so people can download or listen whenever they want.
Excellent.
And you have a gift, so
I do. I am giving away, it's called the Change the Conversation e-course, which is a 4-week e-course that's free, and you can sign up on my website. And it kind of goes through how you're talking to yourself, how you talk to other people, how you talk to even how you pray, because that is that's actually a conversation, and it just explores how you can talk with purpose and how you can listen with intention. I think it's a great e-course. Of course I do.
I'm sure it is. Listening to you and knowing you, I'm sure it is. So we are sort of coming to an end, and I don't want to be too long, so people can really, grab a cup of coffee and listen while they drink it. What would be your one tip that you really want listeners to bring from this conversation?
I think the most important thing and the first step to really reconnecting or connecting deeper in your life is really getting in touch with how you actually feel. Um, I think that a lot of people really don't take the time to recognize how they feel, and I think when you know how you feel about something or how you want to feel, then I think that offers a space for you to really connect with someone, because then you can be clear about expressing yourself because you are sure how you feel. And as hard as this may be, being able to disconnect how the other person is going to respond to your feelings is very important, because that's what keeps us from expressing, is we're too busy worrying about or trying to predict the other person's reaction.
Yeah, just before we end, I have another question. Do you think that we really know the feelings before, um, because when we are kids, everything is so simplified. You're happy, you're sad, you're angry, and that about ends it. But there are so many other feelings that we can feel. So how can we recognize them, and how can we really know what it is that we are feeling, or not just giving it a label, or dismiss it?
Well, I think that you're right. Like those simple feelings, happy, sad, angry, those feelings are, I think, the primary feelings. It's kind of like the rainbow. Like they're really only about 5 colors, right? But when you layer those colors, you get other colors. And I think that that's the same thing is true for feelings. Like they're still just those basic ones, those same simple ones that you felt as a child. But as an adult, because now your experience is bigger and you've had different things happen to you, you experience different versions of those same feelings. So, like sadness, for example, disappointment is a form of sadness. It's the same thing. It's, it's the feelings that come with it might be bigger and more profound, but it's still sadness, and like joy is like happiness, but like on steroids, right? Like when you feel joyful, it's like so big, but it's still happiness. So I think that those basic feelings, those primary feelings, are still the same, but you just kind of build on them. And the reason the reason it feels like there's so many as an adult is just because of the amount of experience and life that you've lived already.
Yeah,
but I think simple is better. Simple is better. Simple is easy, and that, like I think we overcomplicate things. So it's okay for your feelings to be very basic. It's okay to say, you know what, I feel content, which is happiness. I feel happy, even if it's just I feel a little happy. It's okay to feel a little happy, or I feel a lot happy. Like it can be still very simple. And I think the more simple it is, the simpler we make it, the easier it is to identify.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you. And then we are coming back to really connecting to yourself and to see where you are and how you feel.
Exactly.
Stacey, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to your programs or whatever you're preparing for next year. Maybe we'll talk again.
Absolutely, I'd love to. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.